All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. Okay, so we're going to get started with our analysis this morning, and let's go over to the euro dollar. There we go. There we go. Okay, so here's the euro, and if you go back to our analysis from yesterday, so this worked out pretty well. I mean, we were here yesterday, and we were right around here yesterday morning. Okay. And yeah, right here, and said, okay, a rally back up towards resistance at 108.60 or a sell-off down to 107.70 would be a great place to trade it, but it's kind of tough trading it right here in the middle of the range, if you guys recall that. And we drew it out. And so, yeah, if you took a short in the euro dollar at the 108.60 level, I mean, we did spike up to 108.74 before rolling over, but you can see, generally speaking, we worked out, what we had thought. Now the question is, what do you do here again? And I don't think anything's really different. And as we were talking with Paul a little earlier, I think the opportunities are in different currencies right now, not necessarily the euro dollar. I mean, you can obviously trade the euro if you want, but I think if risk appetite continues to improve, the euro dollar will probably be trading back down here at 107.70. So again, from here, if you can get a short at 108.60, that's great. And if you can get a move down to 107.70, that's probably a good place for a long. And I think it's possible that we get down here today. Remember, that is a 786 of this move here. So I don't think there's, I can see us tripping stops below those lows, and just as we trip stops below those lows, you probably get on the long side and look for a bounce. It's very choppy, and I think you have to trade it as such. So 1.0860, or I'll write 74 today, 75, excuse me, since, oops, dang it, I'm sorry, 107.70, and then 108, because that's the overnight high was 74, right? And we're still in a range environment. That's it. Just trade it as a range. That's all we're dealing with here as far as the euro dollar goes. So let's go over to the cable. Okay. Now the pound dollar. First of all, James, and I got long this yesterday, and I got long yesterday, and I sold it literally for a 10 pip gain, and I could have made like 40 pips, and I actually only ended up making like 10, but it did come down to the 618, and James says I bought the cable at 141.80, loving it. And James, you know what my response to your trade is? Do you know what my response to your trade is? So, just kidding. Just kidding. All right, anyway. But, great. That was well played, because if you look at yesterday's analysis, we were like, oh, okay, this 618 is probably going to be a nice hold. And we did. We hit the, damn it, okay, 141.70, which, the 618 came in at 141.86, and then we bounced like a bat out of hell. It's great. Now check it out. All right, let's get rid of. I'm going to get rid of a few things. Let me delete that. I probably need that, but I'll get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Well, we might need that. Going back over to the weekly chart, and by the way, the only pound exposure I have right now is long the pound New Zealand. That's it, and I'm basically break even with that. So I'm just, I don't have any real pound exposure. The pound New Zealand's so small, it's not even much of anything. So that red line that you see here, the big one, that's from the lows in 2010. Okay. Anyway, going back to the 4-hour chart. So here we are. got a bounce from the 618. Now there's this downtrend line right here that we drew yesterday. You see it? That's valid. And that's important because we rejected there. Damn it, that's not what I want to do. I'm trying to grab the, there we go, okay. Because what we did is we basically hit that downtrend line yesterday, right? Yesterday, you can see there. Here, I'll do this just to make it visible. Shapes, okay. Dude, right? Dude, right? 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 Okay. You can see, really key trend line resistance is going to come into play here. So we hit the 618, and that was support. Boom, right? Now, let's remove that. Let's talk about high, low, 618. Oh, 618, 4290. So we're at the 50% right now. 4290 is going to be really key resistance today, or I'll just say 143. Okay, if the cable can break 1.43, that will be a pretty massive breakout. Okay, that would be a pretty massive breakout if it can break through 143. We are, you know, we've gone into a range. Well, let me take that back. We're still in a bullish, I mean, a bearish trend. I have to, I know, I think we're going back into a range, personally. But, come on. That'll change color later, I'm sure. I think we're still in a bearish trend. I think we are, but we are threading to turn back into a range. Okay, we really are. You know, we break above 143, and then we're going to be in a range. You know, probably bounce back to 145, and you know, just bebop around. But okay, let's talk about support. So support is obviously critical at 141.75. Okay, critical. 1.4175. That's going to be really key support today. All right, let's go over to the Swissy. So I bought the Swissy yesterday. I bought it at 131.30. If you guys don't recall why, you know, we all did in the chat room. Okay, I was looking at this trend line support yesterday. We came down right to here. And I bought it, you know, knowing that this was trendline support. It was like this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna nibble at it. I know there's a lot of support here because, if you don't recall, remember this big breakout right here, right? Breakout, breakout, breakout. Okay, it's 121.20, and that ended up holding. Now, what's interesting about this is if risk appetite improves, the dollar should strengthen. Okay. Should, at least against the yen and you know, maybe even the Swissy, right? So if you actually look at the spike lows now, right? Here, spike low, low, right? We're actually holding, but we're holding, more important, we're holding that breakout point, which I'll write down as 101.15, but it's actually 101.20. Because remember that the reason why that's such a big deal, guys, is that this was a sell-off, 618 at 101.20, 618, 618, floundered around there, and then we finally broke higher, and now we're holding above it. So it's basically support is, well, I'll just put 1.0120 approximately. It's really key support. Resistance, the next resistance is going to be at 102.20, or 102.10, which is the 786 retracement. And like I said, if risk appetite continues to improve, the dollar should strengthen. You know, the euro should dip down towards 108, dollar Swiss, you know, maybe back up to 102. Also keep in mind that the euro Swiss is at 110, okay? So that's pretty powerful. Range environment. Let's go over to the yen, all right? Dollar yen. Now, I'm really bummed out I didn't see this overnight. This is one of those things that I'm not trading the dollar yen to the long side. I'm not. I wish I was, and I wish I would have saw this, but you know, we were watching it yesterday and how the stock market was coming down and the dollar yen was holding up. But finally in Asia, it buckled. Okay, Chinese markets came down, Asian markets came down, and what we did is we came down and retested this trend line. We did it here on the morning edge on Friday. Remember on Friday, I was sitting there doing analysis, and somebody said, "Hey, Kuroda's speaking," and we spiked down to 117.90, and by the time I looked at it, we already bounced back to 118.15, and then we screamed higher. And same thing happened last night. We came down, retested this trend line that we drew yesterday. Okay, we came down and retested it, which, you know, I wasn't around for, but man, what a great move there. You know, hopefully some of you guys caught that. I didn't, you know, but that was a 38% retracement. 117, basically 117.70. So I'm going to write down 117.70 is really key support today. And if you ask me, looks like the dollar yen is going to challenge this resistance up here at 1880, you know, 118.90. It's key resistance. We are still in a range. Okay. Excuse me 1 second. I need to blow my nose. Sorry, guys. Stand by. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so there's the dollar yen. Let's go over to the Canadian. So as you guys know, yesterday I was adding back. Okay, so you know I've been short the dollar Canadian. I covered half my position on Friday around here, like 141.80 or so. Yesterday, as we were rallying towards 142, all the way from 142 to 143, like 142.20 to 143, I'd been adding back to my dollar Canadian short exposure. I don't have as much as I did on the way down, but I'm about 3/4 of the position size that I had. And now we are breaking down in our flag pattern. But notice the rejection in the dollar Canadian. That's so important. Okay, the rejection here, previous support, current resistance, 38% retracement. Okay, we fell short because you have to imagine, if everybody and their mother's brother's uncle's sister thinks that the dollar Canadian is going to hit a 38% retracement, everybody's going to try to outsmart each other, right? Oh, we're going to reach a 38% retracement. Great. I know there's going to be a lot of sell orders there, so I'm going to put my sell order just below. And then the next person's like, well, I know everybody's trying to sell here, and I know the smart people think they're going to put their orders here, so I'm going to be smarter than them, and I'm going to put my order here. And then you have the next person that says, oh, I know everybody's trying to sell the 38% retracement. I know the smart people are going to put their stops, their orders here. Then the smarter people than them are going to put their orders here, and I'm going to be smarter than all those guys, and I'm going to put my order right here. So you can see how orders get stacked up before we hit that resistance. So you get these, you know, they're thinner here, and they start to get real thick through here, real thick through there. So as we move into a 38% retracement, it slows down dramatically because you start running in a bunch of sell orders. Hopefully that helps you understand price action a little bit. All right, now we are starting to crack the we're trying to crack the flag support. Okay, now key resistance is 143.20. Yeah, whatever the high is, 25. And any move back up towards 143, you're going to have a lot of people selling now. All right. Matter of fact, I'd venture to guess that I should actually write something different. Any move back up to 146.20, or I'm sorry, 142.60 is going to find sellers. So let me 142.60. Going to find sellers. Okay. Support. Hold on really fast. What was the low? 41.13. Okay. It's right here. Okay. So we just hit the 618. That's what's stalling on the downside. Okay. Next support, 151.60, which matches with those horizontal supports. That's probably going to be support for today, right here. So 141.60. Okay. And we're still in a bullish trend, but I'll tell you guys, you guys know I'm trying to, with the Canadian pairs for the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I've been trying to catch the highs here, trying to catch the big turn. It's easy for, I'd always try to explain to you guys, it's easy for people to identify when a trend's in place. It's really difficult, and what you'll find, it's really difficult to find a turn in the market. And I know one of the reasons why you guys listen here all the time is because we tend to be pretty efficient at finding the turn when the turn comes. And that's always the trick in the market, is trying to figure out where that turn is. And this is a this is a situation where we've gone from a really bullish trend, and I think we're going to be in a range trading environment for a while. We'll probably dip back into the high 130s, and we'll just bounce around between the 130s and 140s for a while before reasserting a new uptrend. But for now, the uptrend's still intact. We have to break through, in my opinion, we have to break through 140 to change us from a bullish trend to a range environment, which I think is eventually going to happen. It's just takes a little time. All right, let's go take a look at the Kiwi really quick. So the Kiwi, remember the RBNZ is not today, it's tomorrow. Today's Australian CPI. So tomorrow is the RBNZ rate decision. The Kiwi, I'm a little, well, first of all, I've only got short. Oh, yeah, I've only got short New Zealand exposure. I shorted the New Zealand Canadian yesterday. I'm up 38 pips from yesterday. We talked about it on the Lunch Money webinar. If you guys weren't here yesterday. I'm long the Pound New Zealand and Aussie New Zealand. So I am short Kiwi currency. I'm not short the Kiwi dollar, okay, but I'm short, the Kiwi currency. I think that there's, even though no one's expecting the RBNZ to move tomorrow, I I recognize the fact that the Kiwi is really, quite hesitant right now. And what you'll notice is, where we stopped, which obviously tells you that any dip down to like 64.10 is going to be very well supported in the Kiwi. Resistance right now, 65 cents. And so 64, I can write 64 cents, 65 cents, and we're kind of stuck here. I don't know if the Kiwi is going to do a whole lot today, even if risk appetite improves. So 64 resistance at 0.65, and it is a range. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's. I don't know. When we come back, we'll do the Aussie dollar index, and peso, everything else. So, be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere, folks. Thanks. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back, and we're going to finish up with let's go over to the Aussie dollar. And, we talked about it the last couple of days, and, what's developing here, as you guys know, is we are developing an inverted head and shoulder pattern. I'm already playing a little bit of Aussie to the long side. We also have this double bottom. That's the potential of the double bottom to move back up towards 70-80. I really think this is shaping up, as long as risk appetite continues to improve. This is shaping up quite nicely, and so I think you need to keep an eye on the Aussie dollar. Targets right now come up around 70-80 or wherever close to that. We'll have to take it as it goes, but for now, the support is, as we come into the 618 retracement that comes in at 69.10, we went as low as 69.18. So 69.10 is going to be significant support, even if stocks turn a little lower this morning. 0.6910, we still have support down there, and that's going to be the 618 at 69.10, and then resistance now. It's going to be at 70.50, but I'm assuming that any move up towards 70 cents is probably going to find some sellers anyway. So, I'm gonna go with 70 cents first, and then 0.7050 be resistance after that. And we're in a range. We are, although we are trying to turn higher. Let's go over to the dollar index. Okay, so the dollar index yesterday we broke through this this near-term support. You can see that here. We were following this support. We broke through that support, gave us a little bit of downside in the dollar index, but ultimately, and you guys know that ultimately we've got this, wedge, but really key support is going to be all the way down here, and I doubt we're going to go down there today. We don't have the data, even if we miss a bunch of this third tier data, it's not like, it's not like a jobs report or even like inflation data, or that's really going to kind of aggressively push us down there. I think the chances of that are not that high, although it could happen. I think, the chances of us moving down like that would be, it'd be very aggressive, and I don't think it'd be one of those moves that came out of left field. You know, you just wouldn't expect it. Looks like to me that we have a spike low there. We have gap fill from the weekend. You know, all this support is in right here. It's at 99.10. You know, obviously resistance is at right now. It's at 99.60 right here. And so I think, oops. You know, I think we're just, you know, again in the dollar, we're just kind of range bound. So 99.10, 99.60. Okay, and like I said, we're in a range currently. All right, nothing to really write home about. Let's take a look at the peso. Now, as you guys know, yesterday I shorted the U.S. dollar Mexican peso. I shorted it 1862.50. Let's see, I'll tell you what my price is. 1862.41. Okay, so we hit the 618 again yesterday. We were like right here, and I sold it. Okay, figure we're trying to set up some sort of, you know, head and shoulder pattern. We've reversed a little bit. So now resistance is 1867, and I told you guys yesterday, you know, I'm looking to sell this one as it rallies. You know, I told you in the morning, yesterday morning, on the morning edge, you know, I'm looking to sell it as it rallies, and I did, and I sold it here, was out of the money just a little bit in Asia, and then, you know, it came down. It's still in a very bullish trend. Okay, I want you to understand that. I'm, you know, fading this resistance. Resistance at 18.67, and support is going to be this 1840 level, and it's really key. You know, this 1840, but you know, really it's 1831. But there's a lot of support as we come down here. Today there's probably going to be support down at 1846. But I'm going to write down 1840. Thereabouts, you know, roughly is going to be support. Okay, it's still bullish. It needs to break through some of the support to really start to turn. Okay. Let's go over to the Norwegian krona. So crude oil's bounced a little bit, but you can see the Norwegian krona hasn't done anything. It's just been kind of sitting here. I think we're going to have to see a more significant bounce in crude to get the Norwegian krona moving. Might be developing a little bit of a, you know, consolidation here, maybe. You know, but support is 870. Resistance seems to be 880. So 870 is really key support here in the Norwegian krona. I think, you know, 880 to 890 is, you know, is doable. You know, 880 is right here. 885 would be right here. Can you guys hold on for just give me a minute, please? Sorry about that. Hold on. Sorry about the wait. Okay. Let me go. Okay, so we did the Norwegian krona. I think we're consolidating here, but we're in a tight range. Like I said, we have to see a bounce in crude, I think, in order to get a you know, significant bounce out of the U.S. dollar Norwegian krona, or a bounce in crude to get a sell-off in the Norwegian krona, to get the Norwegian krona, U.S. dollar Norwegian krona lower, or the Norwegian krona to actually strengthen. Let's go over to the Swedish krona. Swedish krona is really not doing a whole lot. Still very slow. Okay, so I think for your bias chart, and this is, by the way, still in a bullish trend. Okay, so your bias chart there, it's set up, and let me take your questions. All right, so going back into questions, Ahmad said, hey Blake,